Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Yam bhikkhave sadevakassa lokassa samarakassa sabbrahmakassa sassamana brahmaniya pajaya sadeva manussaya dittang sutam mutang viññātaṃ pattaṃ pariyesitaṃ anuvicharitang manasa tamahang janami tamahang abbaññāsiṃ tan tathāgatassa viditaṃ tan tathāgato na upatthāsīti. Dear Venerable Brother, Dhamma friends, as you all know, we have taken Kalakarama Sutta as the theme or the topic of this Kalalgoda English medium retreat. And now we are spending several months discussing this sutta. And as I mentioned yesterday, so this sutta can be categorized into 5 sections according to the commentary. The first section dealing with the Sarvajñata Jnana, the omniscience of the Buddha, and then the second section dealing about his complete purification. That means even the asavas are abandoned, no asavas at all, the Shinasrava Bhumi, and then the next about his understanding about the truth, the Satya Bhumi, and then the fourth one related to the practice, actually the Sunyata Bhumi, the emptiness part, and ultimately the fifth part is called the Tadi Bhumi, so his stability, in a way the unwavering, a very thorough stability of his mind. So we are going or dealing one after the other. We already discussed the first part, Sarvajñata Bhumi, in a little concise way. And now we are dealing with the second part, Shinasrava Bhumi. So the asavas. So typically asavas are 3 mainly, Kamasava, Bhavasava, Avijjasava. Kamasava referring certain kind of a tendency we all have with respect to the sensuality, various sensual desires. That all comes because of this latent tendency, the kind of inherent characteristics available in the mind, called a kind of a tendency towards sensuality, sensual desires, inclination towards sensual existence, we can say. And then the Bhavasrava, a kind of a continuation as a person, as an individual in this samsara, again and again, not wanting to leave it, rather to continue in a way. Then the Avijjasrava, where we don't know the reality, not knowing, and ignorantly knowing maybe, improperly knowing, but not properly knowing. And sometimes in certain suttas, the ditthasava also mention a certain kind of a misbelief, wrong belief, and kind of a strong adherence to certain dogmatic views. So all that comes as the ditthasava, but actually we can include that also under the avijjasava. So sometimes there are 3 and sometimes there are 4, but typically we can say we have to deal with all these different kinds of influxes or taints. Now, as we discussed yesterday, so this particular topic is comprehensively handled in one particular sutta called Sabbasava Sutta, where Buddha come up with 7 strategies to overcome asava. So you can see it has to be a fairly comprehensive solution we have to have. It is not a straightforward thing. Because temporarily we can abandon our lust, temporarily we can get rid of the hatred, temporarily we can say my mind is concentrated, not restless, or temporarily I am happy, temporarily I am satisfied. But the problem is we can't guarantee in the long run whether I am able to maintain such a purified mind. Temporarily we can maintain such as a result of our practice, as a result of the development of a samadhi, but still we can't guarantee that it is irreversible. We can again come back to the old habit. So that is where the practice is quite important. And on the other hand, before the Buddha, there are many other solutions by various other spiritual teachers. Particularly, they have stopped at the samadhi, different levels of samadhi. Say someone has attained first jhana and thought that that is the nibbana, that is the end. So this is the best we can have. Or someone might even attain the arupa jhana and thought, okay, this is the end, this is the best, this is the nibbana. But Buddha, without admitting it, so he went further to look at even the deeper corners of the mind, where certain latent tendencies are lying down, and certain influxes are lying down. And his kind of extraordinary finding is the solution for these latent tendencies or these influxes. So in Sabbasava Sutta, there are 7 such strategies are mentioned, and we took the easiest ones first to talk. So we discussed with the Samvara Pahatabba, so how one is restraining oneself, not allowing the mind to freely get polluted. So rather we are putting certain restrictions to ourselves, certain behavioral aspects, restraining our faculties, not allowing freely to move the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, mind. In case it happens, then we are the ones who have to pay. So knowingly we sort of restrain the mind, or rather restrain the faculties. So that is one area that we need to look at. Even though we are well-to-do, even though we are still young, even though we can do many things, but we are being little careful how to handle the outside world. What are the things we need to look at? What are the things we need to hear, smell, taste, touch, think? So therefore, we are a little cautious about how we are using our faculties. So that is one area. And then we discuss about the Patisevana Pahatabba, where, so while dealing with or while using many different requisites for our well-being, for our day-to-day living, whenever we are handling different resources, different requisites, maybe when we are eating, when we are wearing our clothes, or when we are using different our resources, we are using our medicine, when we are using our clothes, how we are dwelling in a particular house. So all that in daily activities, whenever we are using many different opportunities, requisites, so are we properly reflecting, properly knowing their usage, or are we ignorantly using them so that the defilements are arising? So the point is, even in daily activities, whenever we are handling different resources, different commodities, different items, requisites, we have to be a little careful, not allowing the mind to get polluted, defiled by those requisites because of the usage. So the Buddha's advice there is to do a proper reflection. When you are eating, don't allow the food to, as a result of the food or unwise attention towards the food, ignorantly thinking about it, so that your mind get polluted. Instead, you know, okay, I am eating this, I am mindfully eating, and this is for the mere maintenance of the body. This body depends on the food, and so you wisely pay attention to it, and then instead of the defilements, now even the wisdom can arise because of such a wise usage of the food. So food reflection, or knowingly, thoroughly, properly using even the food, can cause a very good insight in the mind. So there are instances like certain monks got attained while eating because they were properly using the food with wise reflection. Now that is related to the Patisevana Pahatabba. Then third, we discussed the Adivasana Pahatabba. So being patient. So otherwise, we might get agitated, we might feel sort of impatient, and we might get into arguments, get into quarrels with the others. We hate the situations if we don't have patience. So patience is another aspect we need to develop, we need to maintain. because otherwise the situation become more adverse. Now we all have to be patient with the heat. No other option. So likewise, once we understood, okay, I have my limits, I can't change the situation, okay, only possibility is cope up with the situation. Tolerate it. Then parivajjana pahatabba, the next one. That means not knowingly we are certain areas, certain people, certain situations we are avoiding. So we know there is a risk. It could be harmful to myself, it could be harmful to my practice, degrade my practice. So all that, knowing the danger, knowing the risk, so we are avoiding it. If you know, okay, there's a particular place which is quite dangerous and many bad people are there, okay, don't go there. Simple as that. So likewise, so we are not putting ourselves into a risky, dangerous situation, knowing that it is harmful to my well-being, so you are avoiding it. Parivajjana pahatabba. Then we yesterday discussed about the vinodana pahatabba. So whenever different defilements are arising, happening in the mind, don't tolerate that. So try to abandon it, and abandoning process is many different ways. Depending on where we are, many different strategies can be used to abandon it. At the beginning, probably you may be developing the opposite. Say, for example, if you easily get angry, probably you are developing certain amount of loving kindness as a practice, as a meditative practice. So when that being developed, so the possibility of getting angry easily might be reduced. Say if your mind is continuously or often attacked by lust, many lustful thoughts are arising, probably a little bit of asubha, contemplation based on the loathsomeness of the body might be useful. So then you can maintain a mind which is fairly free from lust. So likewise, at the beginning, many different techniques have to be used to abandon the defilements temporarily. But when someone is into the Satipatthana practice, you are getting another opportunity to develop certain spiritual skills in the mind. Certain amount of mindfulness, certain amount of concentration. Based on that, you are now know how to balance the faculties. And now you can look at the mind and recognize various defilements. So now you are in a better position. So now you don't need to crush them, but you even can use them. Whenever anger arises, you can even recognize how it is arising, how it is changing, how it is disappearing. So you are in a better position even to look at its nature, its behavior. So defilements are merely thoughts at that level. Defilements become very much like another type of thoughts. Either wholesome thoughts, either unwholesome thoughts, they become merely a conditioned phenomena. You don't need too much afraid of them now, because they are coming to go. They are arising to pass away. If they arise, they are definitely they will pass away. So you learn it as an insight. So you are at a better position, you are quite confident. Whatever conditioned phenomena happening in the mind, they are subject to pass away. So likewise, the practice, Vinodana Pahatabba, we can say it's an evolving practice. So the methods that you occupy or use during your early stages of the practice might not be the same we are using at another level. So many different approaches are available, and as much as possible you are taking care of the mind. Then we can talk about the Bhavana Pahatabba. Bhavana Pahatabba, the development of the mind, so that you are at a better position. So currently probably the mind is fairly rooted in various defilements, typically what we say as the hindrances, 5 hindrances. So in order to overcome them, you are developing certain other spiritual qualities. Probably we can say in general 5 enlightenment factors. Actually in the Sabbasava Sutta, Buddha immediately taken us to the development of the enlightenment factors without much mentioning about the previous levels. But even actually during the today's Dhamma discussion, we discussed from the beginning how one may be developing certain amount of mindfulness. With that, how one is developing certain amount of concentration, and including certain amount of inquiring nature, investigative nature into the mind. So you are developing certain amount of yoniso manasikara. So say for example, practically if speaking, say you are practicing anapanasati. So you allow the body to naturally breathe. You know it is the in-breath, you know it is the out-breath. Now you can do it continuously for 50 breaths. But without stopping there, now you know I can continuously watch 50 breaths. I am confident about it. Probably I can look at 60 breaths. Fine. But now you are closely examining it. Kind of a close examination. Not merely superficially touching it. Rather you are carefully, closely examining it, so that you know whether it is long, whether it is short, where it is touching. So whether it is beginning, middle, end, gap. So all those very subtle aspects, now you are trying to inquire. So the idea is another spiritual quality is being developed in the mind. So the breath is a mere tool to develop that skill. So therefore, it is not that the breath is the best thing or breath is the only thing. There may be other objects as well, like rising and falling, for example. So you are using rising and falling to inquire the beginning of the rising, the middle of the rising, the end of the rising, the gap between rising and falling, etc. Again, the same quality being developed in the mind. Say while walking, so if your right foot is touching the ground, left foot is touching the ground, now you are able to establish mindfulness. And now you do the inquiring. Which part is touching the ground first? Which part is next? What is the next part? So what are the qualities, the texture of the flow? Now all these are inquiring. Develops the inquiring nature of the mind. Now we are talking certain spiritual soft qualities as a result of the practice, what is being cultivated in the mind. Now all that we can consider as bhavana pahatabba. Instead of allowing the hindrances to occupy the mind, now you are developing certain beautiful, skillful qualities in the mind. Without simply allowing the mind to go to the negative side, now you are developing certain positive spiritual qualities into the mind. Instead of kama chanda, you are developing the concentration, ekaggata. Instead of vyapada, you develop the piti, the happiness in the mind. Instead of say thina middha, sloth and torpor, you develop kind of a very active mind. Again and again you are able to apply your mind to a continuous different series of objects. So mind is quite active, not allowing it to become lethargic. So the sloth and torpor is now abandoned because your mind become active, quite vigilant. Instead of uddacha kukuccha, that means restlessness and worry, now you have a fairly comfortable, quite happy mood in the mind. So you are not regretting about the past and not even allowing the mind to become restless, but internally quite happy. Serene kind of an atmosphere, happy atmosphere in the mind. And instead of vichikiccha, doubt, now you are firm about the object. Okay, this is the in-breath, this is the out-breath, this is the beginning, this is the middle, this is the end. You are quite sure about it. There is no perplexity. So likewise, without allowing the negative qualities to arise, now we are developing the positive qualities in the mind. This is one samadhi related, concentration related aspects actually. Vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekaggata. The applied mind, sustained mind, rapture or happiness, and then concentration, ekaggata. So when these qualities are being developed, temporarily you can subside the hindrances, fine. But still temporarily. Next day again everything available. So don't worry. Temporary solutions are still available. So now we need to attend to another area, so that is the insight practice. So now you are looking at feelings as feelings, so how they are arising, how they are changing, how they are passing away. So the value that we have given to those feelings now become little less. Previously we are driven by the pleasure principle, going after various pleasures, always going after different, say, imaginary pleasures. Sankappa rago, purisassa kamo. So imaginary, say, states are there in the mind, always fantasizing, always imagining, okay, once I become this, I'll be happy. Once I found her, once I found him, I'll be happy. Once I buy that car, I'll be happy. Once I get that particular promotion, I'll be happy. So many different imaginary states are promoted in the mind, thinking that those will provide us happiness. So instead of following such a, say, trend or habit in the mind, now you are developing certain different kinds of qualities in the mind. Wisdom-based practice. Now that is where we are coming to the enlightenment factors. Just to explain a little bit about how certain enlightenment factors being developed during Kayanupassana. Now say for example, you are developing mindfulness. So this we all are familiar with. So when we are developing mindfulness, we can say there are times that mindfulness is a little weak. There are days you can say, okay, certain amount of mindfulness is available. There may be other days mindfulness is quite sharp. So probably you recognize, okay, mindfulness is a kind of a quality, kind of a skill now being developed in the mind, but still it is varied. At certain activity I can maintain mindfulness, at certain other activity I can't maintain mindfulness. So realistically you can understand. So you are anyway developing it. You are further promoting it, widening it, and as much as possible now you are trying to develop mindfulness. Fine. Suppose that you arrive at a stage where you are confident, okay, a fair amount of mindfulness is available in the mind. Now we can say you have arrived the mindfulness enlightenment factors. So we can't say immediately we are at the level of enlightenment factor. Rather, we may be starting with very basic, very trivial kind of a mindfulness, and then we are furthering it. And related to bodily activities, we can maintain mindfulness. Related to various feelings, we can maintain mindfulness. Probably different daily activities, we can maintain mindfulness. So likewise, we are broadening it, enhancing it. And at one stage, you are confident, okay, this is now fairly developed. Now we can get into the second enlightenment factor, which is the Dhammavicaya. Now don't stop at this level. Now you need to put some effort to develop investigation factor. So what are you going to investigate? So what you have already mindful, where your mindfulness is established. Say if you are establishing mindfulness in the breath, okay, breath is your object to develop the inquiring nature. Suppose you have established mindfulness on the rising and falling. Okay, that is the area which you are going to inquire. Say you are able to recognize various sensations in the body, so that becomes the object which you are going to inquire. Any elements, characteristics available in the body, if you are able to recognize, okay, that is the area, the field which you are using to develop the investigative factor. Tata sato viharanto tang dhammang. So this particular object, while you are maintaining mindfulness, so on which that you are maintaining mindfulness, so that becomes the field for you to develop the Dhammavicaya, the investigative quality in the mind. And you see how it is arising, how it is changing, or what are they really? So what are the elements, for example? So what are the earth element? The characteristics of the earth element. What are the characteristics of the water element? What are the characteristics of, say, heat element, air element. So likewise, you are inquiring. This is not reading the book, by the way. You already read the book. You already heard the Dhamma. But now, through the mind, you are inquiring through your body. While it is walking, are you able to recognize these earth characteristics? While you are walking, are you able to recognize the air characteristics, heat characteristic? So it is a kind of a investigation, actually. The term investigation is quite meaningful there, but it doesn't mean that reading a book, listening to Dhamma is irrelevant. That is also contributing to the Dhamma Vichaya. But here we are particularly emphasizing the experiential knowledge, Bhavaname Jnana. The important thing is using the mindfulness. Now you need to inquire, investigate. Now that is difficult, by the way. So that is why you need effort. So while Dhamma Vichaya being developed, now effort come into the picture, Virya Sambojjhanga. So now things are going hand in hand. So we are to develop the investigation factor, fine, but we need the effort, because mind might become little discouraged when you are unable to see them properly. Say different feelings are arising, but you are unable to trace them properly. You can't see the complete behavior. So it's difficult. Probably your aim is different. Aim in the sense you can't properly position your attention, or once you are positioning your attention, it's already disappeared. So all that kind of different soft skills are to be addressed, developed, and you need fair amount of effort to do that, and balancing effort. So we are talking about the Virya Sambojjhanga, the enlightenment factor of effort. Now suppose you are somewhat skilled in it now. You are able to position your attention to different sensations happening in the body at any place. You can quickly point it out. You can quickly place your attention there and do this inquiring skill. Assume that after a while you are able to develop it. Now mind learned it. Mind know how to do it. Previously you are the one, sort of guiding it, purposely doing it. You have to interact with it. But after this particular skill being developed, now mind knows how to do it. So different sensations are arising now automatically, like mind is naturally going there and investigating it. Another, say, sensation arise at another place. So if this is being naturally faded away, so mind naturally shifted there and do the investigation. Now you feel little comfortable. And basically we were discussing about the enlightenment factors and how one by one being developed. So in the development of the enlightenment factors, we have reached now the piti, the rapture, because now the yogi is familiar with the process, and now you don't need to too much interact, because the mind has developed that skill, how to position the attention and how to be mindful and how to investigate, how to balance the effort. Now the mind is capable of it. Now the happiness is arising. Now the rapture is arising, because you can see the truth in a way. How things are arising, how things are changing, how things are passing away. You have already heard about them, but now you can see them. You can properly know them. So that is interesting part actually, where we had certain faith about these qualities, we had certain understanding about these different behaviors of the conditioned phenomena, but now we ourselves can see it, each and every phenomena. So once you are developing that kind of a wisdom, the piti arises. So the rapture arises. My God, isn't it true? So I have heard about it. Buddha has mentioned like that. I have read a book, but now I can see it. So likewise, so the understanding leads to some sort of a happiness. Rapture happens. The piti sambojjhanga. And once that is furthering, actually, you feel comfortable. Now you don't have any different, say, difficulties in the body. You can continue your practice for even several hours if possible. And you find it is quite interesting. you are developing kind of an inquiry in nature further and further. You want to know it further. And now the Passaddhi is also there. Passaddhi Sambojjhanga, the tranquility enlightenment factor. So you can maintain your posture, mind also quite capable. Many different phenomena are happening. You do the investigation in a happy, contented way. The Passaddhi Sambojjhanga happens. Now mind is concentrated. It doesn't want to move here and there. The concentration is also there. So the concentration enlightenment factor is also there. Samadhi Sambojjhanga. Everything is in line. Everything is happening smoothly. You have nothing to do now, basically. Everything is well refined, well attuned. Smoothly the process is happening. The mind takes care of the whole investigation. Everything is doing well. Now take the back seat, observe the process. Development of the Upekha Sambojjhanga, equanimity enlightenment factor. So kind of a linear order is there at the first stage of the development of the enlightenment factors. So you can read Anapanasati Sutta for further explanation. So I have taken particularly Kayanapassana to explain this. Same approach in the Vedananupassana, same approach in the Chittanupassana, same approach in the Dhammanupassana. So how this kind of a Satipatthana practice contributing towards the enlightenment factors. It's a kind of a linear order at first. From Sati, then the Dhammavichaya to Viriya, Viriya to Piti, Piti to Passaddhi, Passaddhi to Samadhi, Samadhi to Upekha. Now suppose as a result of this practice, you are able to understand the impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, non-self of different conditioned phenomena. Now you feel little dispassionate about the whole thing. No, you can't find happiness in the conditioned realm, conditioned phenomena. You feel little dispassionate about this whole process. And now slowly, your mind very much like separated from this process. It likes to become secluded. It likes to become somewhat independent. It wants to get rid of this conditioned realm even. So likewise, different insight knowledges can happen because you understood the reality. So the understanding things as they truly are leads to dispassion and leads to kind of a relief. I want to abandon it. Nibbida viraga. So you become dispassionate, disenchanted about the conditioned realm, conditioned phenomena. Now slowly, the mind withdraws from engaging with this conditioned phenomena, and there could be a possibility that you completely abandon the Rupakkhandha. But still feelings are there, perceptions are there, thoughts are there. If the yogi is skillful, probably he can abandon even the feelings, can abandon even the perceptions, can abandon even the formations. Now we can say the mind is fairly unestablished, fairly freed. So it is easy to say, but difficult to do. Because theoretically, yes, but practically when you are doing it, so our tendency is to attach, remember that. So the tendency in the mind is to hold something. It needs something to be. It needs something to establish. Say you need something to stay, right? You need this ground is there to well ground, well establish. Similarly, our mind either likes to stay with the body, to other physical objects, associate it, happy with it, attached to it, grasp it, or happy with the feelings, happy with different perceptions happening in the mind, or thinking. We like to think. Proliferation. If not, what are you going to do? So this is how we are managing, right? Either we are happy by seeing, either we are happy by hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, or thinking. Imagination. So many things are there. So slowly, anyway, the practice giving us another kind of a skill. So how to maintain a mind, even though you can see, mind doesn't want to get involved what you see. Even though you can hear, mind doesn't want to tell a story about what you hear. Even though you can smell, mind doesn't want to get involved with what you smell. Even though you are eating and tasting something, but mind likes to stay alone. Even though maybe different sensations happen, your walking happens, but now you probably feel your attention is not in that touching sensation, isn't it? There may be such instances. Probably you can understand, okay, different experiences are happening, but mind is not there. Sights are there, sounds are there, smells, tastes, touch are there, but mind is not grasping any of those. So these are different insights, different levels. And slowly, now mind is giving up. So the advantage, or we can say the assessment of the progress may be possible by recognizing, okay, you become somewhat dispassionate about the many different things. Suppose you are so concerned about your beauty, so concerned about your appearance, and you always want to find the best stylish frock or sari or whatever on those days, but now appear like not necessary. I bought that sari 5 years ago, maybe that is also enough for today. So you feel like contented. You don't want to sort of follow that old habit. Probably previously you were addicted to YouTube, watching one after the other, but now you can keep the phone aside many hours, don't need to look at it. Previously you are addicted to music so much, every time you are singing to yourself, but now you like to be calm, relaxed, silent. So these are the indicators giving us some kind of a indication, okay, mind is now going in a different direction. Unlike previous days, okay, it doesn't want to attach with all these sensual objects. Rather, it prefers to be alone. It likes to be alone. Not necessary to participate in many parties. I like to be alone, so don't disturb me. So this kind of an attitude may be developing. So we need to recognize. So we need to know the balance also. So if you are going to the other extreme, probably you might start hating others, hating yourself. So that also needs to be balanced. So properly navigate in this area. And if we properly continue the practice, probably you understand, okay, there may be instances, so mind doesn't even associate any object. Completely empty, fairly lighter, and you feel like stopped. No movements in the mind, appear like you stopped. Previously it is jumping from one to the other, but now no jumping, completely stopped, and you can't find where you are. Where you are. So once you arrive this kind of an unattached state of mind, an ungrasping state of mind, another area that you can investigate is there is no presence of a self, presence of an ego. A kind of a relaxed, peaceful state of mind, and slowly you recognize this state of the mind, and probably we can name it as Tadanga Nibbutthi, a temporary quenching of the defilements based on the wisdom available. So you are practicing insight, and as a result of the development of these different insights, now the defilements are in check. They are subsided, they are fairly reduced, weakened, something like that. Now we are stepping into the next stage, okay, the development of the further development of the enlightenment factors. So that is what actually mentioned in the Sabbasava Sutta as the Bhavana Pahatabba. So you can see, so we took fair amount of time to reach here, but in the Bhavana Pahatabba section in the Sabbasava Sutta, so we haven't explained yet. Now only we arrived at. So now the development of the enlightenment factors are necessary by giving emphasis to that state, that calm state, relaxed state, equanimous state, unattached state. So you are able to maintain that state for a while now. Say for example, while walking, you are not keeping your attention on the steps now. Where are you keeping it? Where you want to keep? So typically we are keeping our attention on steps, right? Not what we see, not what we hear, smell, taste. On your thoughts? Assume that there are no thoughts. So nowhere basically, isn't it? So basically the mind is empty. So you are not particularly paying attention to anything. Allow the mind to freely stay in that stillness, we can say. Simply allowing the mind to maintain that stillness, not purposely introducing an object. So this is the kind of state now we are developing, and that is explained in the Sabbasava Sutta. Sati sambojjhangam bhaveti viveka nisitang. That means you are developing the mindfulness, giving some emphasis for this secluded nature of the mind. It is not associating a sight, not associating a sound, not established on any smell, not on taste, not on any touch, and no thoughts even. It is secluded. So that seclusion, that aloneness of the mind is something that we need to appreciate. So you are giving some emphasis to that, you appreciate that. Now basically in the other terms we can say, mind is not dependent on conditioned phenomena. So mind is now fairly deconditioned in a way, or unconditioned. So we are moving towards the unconditioned. So the terms viveka, viraga, nirodha, vassagga, these are terms for nibbana. So we are moving towards the nibbana now, getting closer to nibbana. Basically means you are not dependent on any conditioned phenomena. You are trying to keep the mind fairly independent, fairly free, unassociated, not grasping. Viveka nisitang. Then viraga nisitang. Say, with respect to all conditioned phenomena, you have kind of a dispassion. I don't want it. I don't like it. Let me be alone. I don't need it. So this kind of an attitude. Typically we were into the sensuality. You are going after music, going after films, YouTube, Facebook. Many enticing objects were there, but now appreciating this seclusion. You being dispassionate about all that conditioned phenomena, now appreciating this seclusion in the mind. Viraga nisitang. And then nirodha nisitang. All whatever these conditioned phenomena, they are subject to pass away. You don't need to purposely do anything now. You know, whatever conditioned phenomena, they are destined to pass away. That is an inherent characteristic of all conditioned phenomena. You have seen that. You have understood that. So basically the point is, you are not purposely doing anything, very much like. You are minimizing the intentional activities, allowing things to happen, allow things to pass away. Nirodha nisitang. And then vassagga parinamin mean you are allowing the mind to ripen in kind of a freedom. Vassagga typically literally means kind of a relinquishment. So you are promoting the freedom in the mind. Not holding onto anything, not grasping anything, not dependent on anything. So mind become fairly free, fairly lighter, very relaxed, peaceful, unattached. So where is I? So while you are doing this, where is I? I can't be there. You can't feel sense of I. If you are properly doing it, you might understand, okay, so I am living by the way, but I can't feel that I am living, you know. So typically we are using different occasions to highlight a self, right? Say, say, among the crowd. So you are invited to sing a song. So you are putting all your, skills and showing those skills, and really melodically you are singing. So you become the focus, and everybody is so happy. So your ego may be boosted, isn't it? So we like it. So now I am preaching, so all of you are looking at me. Ego can be boosted. So many different opportunities we are using to boost the ego, but that old foolish habit now you are discouraging, basically. So this Bhavana Pahatabba is a fairly advanced area. So you are further developing these different enlightenment factors, but in a radical way, in a way. And this is not linear. Previously we were discussing kind of a linear development of the enlightenment factors, from mindfulness to investigation, investigation to effort, effort to rapture, rapture to tranquility, tranquility to concentration, concentration to equanimity. But now it is not like that. It's very much like equanimous, most of the time maybe, but you are giving some emphasis to the seclusion, keeping things as it is, not becoming restless, and dispassionate about all conditioned things, and allowing things to naturally cease. You are not intervening, you are not purposely crushing them or terminating them. You allow things to naturally cease and keep on releasing the mind, keep on allowing the mind to be liberated, keep on allowing the mind to be relaxed in a way. So this is the practice Buddha explained as Bhavana Pahatabba. So very interesting area. So we came a long path now, fairly a peaceful state of mind. You can't find a self, and practice also fairly smooth. And basically, what happened to the old habits now? Now look at, assume, say theoretically or logically you can understand. So what is happening to the old habits? Say previously when I see a beautiful girl, so what was the trend? So we immediately look at her, looking at various attractive features and going after, asking, and so that was the habit. But now you can see, but mind doesn't want to get involved. Seeing has become a merely seeing. Ditte ditta matta. Say you are more into the music. You can't simply, whenever someone else is singing or whenever someone else's, say, radio is playing some music, you can't simply be here. You want to pay attention to it, you may be even singing it. So that was our addiction, that was our habit. But now, you can even hear it, but mind doesn't want to think about it. Mind can maintain its calmness, maintain its tranquility, while even listening. So this is not actually only concentration, isn't it? So we can't say you are having a very deep concentration while you are walking. So you are fully aware of what you can see, what you can hear, smell, taste, touch. All you are fully aware. This is not the mere deep concentration. You are at the surface very much like. But this is a skill developed because of the practice, because of the wisdom. Insight practice basically. So ditte dittamattam bhavissati, sute sutamattam bhavissati, mute mutamattam bhavissati, viññāte viññātamattam bhavissati. Whenever seeing things happen, you are limiting it to mere seeing. You are not mixing your mind with what you see. So mind is secluded, mind is independent. Awareness is there, you are not dead. You can hear things, but you don't want to get involved, you don't want to get interfere, you don't want to think. Mind doesn't want to think even. Now say for example, can you hear a song without thoughts? Can you look at a waterfall without thinking? So these are very interesting areas actually. As meditators, we can, investigate. These are the interesting areas, very, very interesting areas we need to check. Say, for example, so you are looking at a certain person, is your mind start talking? Say you are dealing with your son, your daughter. You can see their picture. Is your mind talking? Or your mind is silent, maintaining that silence. So you may have already come across the silent stage of mind. Okay, mind doesn't want to think. Mind is fairly silent. So are you able to maintain that silence while you are seeing something? Or is it necessary to add a comment every time? Whenever you see, is it a must to comment about it? Is it necessary? Is it essential to arouse the inner chatter? Or can you maintain a silent mind even while you are seeing? So how about hearing? You can hear, but mind is not talking. You are smelling, maybe a beautiful fragrance is there, maybe a really dirty fragrance smell is there. Are your mind agitated? Are you become anxious, unhappy, or maintaining the equanimity? Similarly the taste, similarly the touching sensation, even when a thought comes, you simply allow it to go because you know it is a mere thought, subject to pass away. Don't worry about it. You mind your own business. So if we can do that, so what happening to the old habits? Asavas, influxes, they have to fade away. So you need to understand, so asava, now we are talking about the abandonment of the asavas, influxes, old habits. Now we can see, previously I was very much like, whenever someone is blaming, whenever someone is praising, whenever someone is singing, so I can't simply maintain such a peaceful state of mind. But now, mind is peaceful. Either someone is blaming, either someone is praising, either someone is singing, whatever it is. So mind can maintain that silence. Say non-proliferative state, nippapancha. No proliferations at all, no obsessions at all. So this is the area we need to reach. If we are able to reach this state and further in this practice, so the old habits are slowly weakening. Asavas are slowly weakening. So we need to discuss further about another aspect. I feel anyway it is enough for today. So the next part is actually the Dasana Pahatabba. Oh, shall we do that also? Okay, good. Now, the last one is the Dasana Pahatabba. But in the Sabbasava Sutta, this is the first one. So, Dasana Pahatabba. So, abandoning by seeing. So, let me get in directly to a practitioner, a knowledgeable practitioner. Sutava Arya Savako, Aryanandassavi, Arya Dhammas Kovido, Arya Dhamme Vinito, Suvinito. That means he is now a knowledgeable person and he often associates the nobles, good people, and in their practice he is also skillful now. He himself has practiced. The practice is not very alienated to him. He himself has practiced now. Arya Dhamme Suvinito. And he is fairly disciplined in the noble's practice. So this is talking not a mere, putachana in a way, a simple sensuality related kind of a slavery type of a person. Rather, he's a good practitioner now. So we are talking about a practitioner now. And he knows what is necessary to attain into the mind. Manasi karaniye dhamme pajanati and amanasi karaniye dhamme pajanati. He knows what to think, what not to think. So what is there to think? What is there not to think? Say, now this sutta actually takes us to another level in this area, and presumption in ourselves, the previous assumption in ourselves that there is a self here, there is a person here. I am the person, right? I am so and so. So when that self-view is strongly available, I might have a tendency to think about the past, asking, who was I in the past? Right? Was I a celestial being? Maybe a Brahma? Or maybe a kind of a person who was in the hell realm? Maybe an animal? Or maybe a human being? So, was I a human being? So, whenever we are thinking like that, so what are we promoting? We are promoting that self-view, isn't it? So, I believe there is a self here, the person here. So, I am extending it even to the past. And now I am questioning, in the past, who was I? So, my internal belief, underneath belief is that there was a self even in the past. And who was I? Where was I? Isn't it? And how was I? Did I maintain my life in the past life in a comfortable way, or did I really suffer in my past life? So the underneath belief is there is a person here, there is a self here. Now I am extending even that to the past life. Further and further thinking that way, promoting the self-view. How about the future? After the death, will I be able to become a god, a celestial being? Maybe in the Tavatinsa? Then I can find a better place, maybe a group of angels, maybe coming here and preaching Dhamma or listening to Dhamma. So in the future, expecting where will I be, who will I be, what will be the situation, have the underneath misunderstanding that there is a self, isn't it? So with respect to either past or the future, whenever we are thinking such kind of an inquiry, we need to be careful that I am promoting that wrong belief in myself, what we call as the Sakkaya Ditthi, in a way. We are promoting that. Now, how about the present? How am I? How am I doing? So you go in front of the mirror, how am I look like? So when you are looking like that, right, you kind of a boosting can happen. The boosting of the ego can happen. Previously you were in a kind of mild, kind of a soft kind of a level, but immediately a boosting can happen. Say, for example, say you are going to the university and you are waiting for the results. Say you have written an exam and now the results are out. Say someone is reading the name list. You are anxiously waiting till the person is reading your name. The moment it is being read, what happened to you? So that moment, that self may be little triggered. So likewise, different opportunities are there, even in the present moment experience, that I being triggered. I being made. I making and then the mind making. So when, say, your child has won a prize, you being the parent, your ego can be triggered. Okay, it is my child, it is my son who won the best prize. So whenever you are looking at the skills, the talents of the children, your ego can be boosted. Similarly, say your child has experienced some difficulty, maybe encounter some problem. So there also we panic, we become unhappy because I am the one being affected. It is my child, isn't it? So every time likewise, so whatever belong to us being affected, so I, the personality view can be boosted. So therefore we need to handle the present moment also carefully. So without promoting that kind of an I-making, mind-making conceit I am. So that's why in the Sabbasava Sutta, so Buddha is asking us to practice so that if it is necessary to inquire, if it is necessary to think, you need to recognize what is suffering. So is there any kind of a suffering available? On the other hand, say we can say it is the Satipatthana practice. So you are looking at the form aggregate, you are looking at the feeling aggregate, perceptions aggregate, formations aggregate, consciousness aggregate. You are a little bit of investigating the 5 aggregates. More you investigate, more will be the detachment. More will be the dispassion. So the second noble truth, craving, will be reduced. And your mind become kind of peaceful, unattached. We already discussed that part. Because you have done that investigation and you have arrived the kind of a peaceful state. And now you further develop in that path, the Noble Eightfold Path. So basically, in the present moment, what we need to do is the kind of a proper Vipassana. That is where we need to pay attention. Suppose you are able to arrive that calm state, a peaceful state, equanimous state, okay, just be there. Be there. You don't need to divert your attention unnecessarily back to the aggregates if your mind is not attaching to the aggregates, isn't it? Say your mind is not attached to form aggregate. So why are you purposely trying to, say, investigate it now? You already done that part, by the way. It is not that I am not trying to discourage it in the sense, but you did that part. You did the Vedananupassana. So that's why your mind is uplifted from it. You did fair amount of analysis in the mind, investigation in the mind. Now you are not interested of thinking. Mind is silent. Okay, be there. Now, no thinking. Do you want to ask why the mind is not thinking? What next? So, is it a relevant question? Isn't it? I mean, these are sankharas, no? Anyway. So, are we to promote the sankharas or are we to calm down the sankharas? So, Buddha's path help us to calm down sankharas, right? Sabba sankhara samatha, stilling the formations. So, now we are promoting that, stilling the formations. That's why this seclusion, dispassion, cessation, and the other last one ripens in the relinquishment, vasagga parinaming, all are basically calms down, tranquilizing the mind, promoting that sabba sankhara samatha, stilling of the formations. So you relax, calm down, be tranquil, just be. So in the other sense, if we are doing like that, then Buddha say, okay, your sakkaya ditthi can be abandoned. Silabbata paramasa can be abandoned. Vicikicca can be abandoned. Sakkaya ditthi. So we develop the personality view either using the body and whatever the physical objects, either using different feelings, either using different perceptions, either using many thinking, or whenever you see, hear, smell, taste, touch, think, so those kind of interaction with the outside. But the proper practice help us to understand this whole process, not to develop that I-making and keeping the mind fairly relaxed. So no possibility of developing the Sakkaya Ditthi in such case. And you don't believe now that mere observances, mere rituals will provide you a lasting happiness, complete liberation. So such kind of a wrong belief also not there. So there may be certain kind of rituals that you may be following because you see the benefit of it. Say for example, you are putting a Buddha puja. So you offer some flowers to the Buddha. You offer some food to the Buddha statue. Why? Because you see some advantage in your mind. So I am developing some faith, I am developing some gratitude, certain dispassion, and while I am doing that, I am quite mindful, and I feel happy when I am doing it. So the criteria to decide whether a certain ritual is useful or not is based on whether the skillful, wholesome qualities are being developed or not. So the proper, good, wholesome qualities are being developed as a result of a certain ritual, as a result of a certain observance. Okay, no problem, continue it. And if you have found that certain ritual is there, but my faith is reduced, I can't practice it after that, I feel tired, my body become fairly weary, then no point, because the unwholesome qualities might have developed. So therefore the deciding factor is whether whatever observance, whatever the ritual should contribute towards the development of the wholesome factors and the reduction of the unwholesome factors. Now, it's a fairly wise approach actually. So now you are not believing observances, rituals are ultimately giving the entire freedom, but you develop or you have the perception, okay, the practice is actually the most important thing. Further development of the skillful enlightenment factors in the mind will be the path. Not by mere, external rituals will bring me the complete happiness. Temporarily they can provide, of course. You understand the value of it, and you are skillfully using them also. But now you are more trusting the path, trusting the kind of the practice. And you have no doubt about it now. About the Buddha, no doubt. About the teaching, no doubt. About the Sangha, the practitioners, you have no doubt. Because you yourself is an example for the practice. And you have a trust about your own practice now. You have a confidence about your own practice. You have basically inculcated the certain spiritual qualities, and you are more and more being confident, okay, I am leading in the correct path. I am quite sure now I am aligned with the Buddha's teaching and confident about the Buddha. He being the teacher, I don't need to look after many different other spiritual teachers. Okay, Buddha is the teacher, some kind of a conviction. And there also you understand, okay, Buddha as a person or Buddha as a Tathagata. That's another deeper subject, isn't it? So as a person, we take again a personality, but here we understand as a person, okay, he is the, say, historic Buddha, but he himself is saying, okay, there is no such person here. So he understood that. Now he is asking us to see. So when you see, okay, there is no self here, can you say there was a self in the Buddha? So you are looking at the Buddha from a different angle now, isn't it? So anyway, so the practice, what we call the dasana pahatabba, leading us to abandon sakkaya ditthi, the personality view, vichikicca, the doubt, and the silabbata paramasa, belief that the rituals and observances will provide the ultimate happiness, that wrong beliefs are abandoned. So therefore, Buddha summarized here, so dasana pahatabba will take us to the first sainthood, or what we call as the Sotapanna, stream meaning. Okay, so that indicates certain influxes, certain tendencies in the mind is completely cut off. They will not come again. Typically we call them as the fetters, 10 fetters. Among the 10 fetters, now 3 are totally abandoned. So Buddha is taking us to a fairly deep level here. So the Sabbasava Sutta, therefore a fairly comprehensive sutta. And actually, just to add a little bit, so asava pahana, abandonment of influxes, so Buddha explained many different ways. So Sabbasava Sutta giving a fairly comprehensive spectrum of different possibilities. Certain other suttas, like for example, suttas in the Satipatthana Sangyutta. So development of the Satipatthana, Buddha say, it will lead to the asava pahana, abandonment of the asavas. And certain suttas in the Indriya Sangyutta, talking about the faculties, Buddha say, okay, development of the faculties will lead to the abandonment of the influxes. Say, when Buddha talking about the Iddhipada, the spiritual powers, when someone is developing the Iddhipadas, that also lead to the abandonment of the asavas. If someone is developing Anapanasati using those 16 steps as we discussed, that also lead to the abandonment of the asavas. Say if someone is practicing the Four Noble Truths, Noble Eightfold Path, that also abandons the asavas. And if someone is seeing the impermanence of the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body with respect to the sense bases, that also lead to the abandonment of asavas. So likewise, with respect to bhavana, actually here more into the practice, more into the meditation, that all lead to the abandonment of the asavas. Okay, with that I conclude today's Dhamma sermon. Thank you very much for attentive listening. Yeah, actually first of all I like to make a notice related to the today's commemoration of the death anniversary of Most Venerable Katagurunde Jnanananda Mahathero. He passed away in 2018, I think at the age of 77, and he has become a really inspiration in my life. I used to listen to his Dhamma sermon while I was at Nayana in 2010 maybe. And I become so inspired by his teachings, and it really has changed my understanding about the Dhamma. And after listening to him, after reading the Nibbana series, that is 33 Dhamma sermons, I definitely want to meet him in person. And so I took the permission from the teacher, and I was fortunate to see him at Pahan Kanuwa. And a very lean, very simple monk, to the point and very sharp. And his teaching was so instrumental, particularly to the insight practice. So therefore I invite all of you to read his books and to listen to the 33 sermons and even 20 sermons on Patisamuppada, giving a fairly comprehensive understanding about the Buddha's teaching. Because he refers particularly the suttas. So particularly emphasizing the early Buddhist teachings. And follower of him is Venerable Analayo, a German monk, Bhikkhu Analayo. He's also fairly instrumental, fairly inspirational. And he's the one actually promoted Venerable Jnanananda to translate the 33 sermons he delivered on Nibbana into English. That is also available. So these are fairly comprehensive and appear like difficult at the beginning. Don't worry about it. You need to learn, you need to listen again and again. More you practice, more you listen, more you further and further, develop insights. So this become available to you. So his teachings become more accessible to you. So with a lot of gratitude, I like to share all the merits what we have accumulated today to Venerable Jnanananda Thero, who is a good teacher, a great scholar, and today is his 7th death anniversary. And then today's breakfast dana was offered by Ishanka and Hasinta and baby Methuli. Wish all the merits for ending samsaric journey. And today's lunch dana was offered by Kumari, Mr. and Mrs. Cabral, to transfer merits to passed away parents and relatives, and to bless Bhante and yogis to end samsaric journey. Okay, those are the notices related to the sharing of merits. I invite Venerable Dhammalankara to conduct the formal sharing of merits.